And he said to you one of the most hurtful things I've ever heard my entire life. He says, if you want to act like a fucking gaijin, go back to your home country. And then you said to him in Japanese, he said, where should I go home to? Hey everybody, welcome back to Small Talk Japan. On this podcast, we talk about all things Japan in English. My name is Michi, and my co-hosts,
Hayato
and
Alex.
Today we have Alex on the show again.
Woohoo. Hello.
In place of Nazki, just for today. And the reason why is because we have a very serious topic to talk about today.
Yes,
Serious?
sir.
And you brought me?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just for today, man.
Right, okay.
Just for today.
I'll behave myself then.
Now, if you guys at home haven't seen it yet, we'll put the link in the description of the video. But Nike released a new advertising commercial in Japan targeting half and mixed kids and interracial children who are growing up in Japan. And it has made quite the splash.
Mm-hmm.
And today I wanted to talk about racial issues in Japan. So a pretty difficult subject. But I wanted to talk about that with Hayato because Hayato's mixed race. He's, a quarter white and 3/4 Japanese. And then with Alex because Alex has 2 half children. So today's episode is going to be a little bit serious, but hopefully we can still have a little bit of fun with it while talking about quite a heavy topic. Also, our producer, who's always behind the camera, Mr. Josh over there, happens to be a halfie. So today we're going to talk about, what it means to be biracial or even foreign growing up in Japan. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Alex, now you brought this commercial to my attention.
Yeah.
And can I ask you, when you first saw it, what did you think about it?
Well, it's a Nike commercial, right? So, sports, emotional scenes, people going through adversity, that kind of thing. I mean, if you showed that in the US, it'd just be a normal commercial. But because it's in the context of Japan, it takes on a different meaning.
That's actually a very interesting point you just brought up because in the United States, when we see like people facing adversity, people fighting for, what they want, it's like, yeah, you go get them. You're doing the right thing. But when I think not everyone, but some Japanese people will watch that commercial, they won't see the struggles and the triumphs of the people who are working hard. Instead, they'll see, oh, you're painting Japan as a racist country and we're not racist.
Yeah, I think that's the main crux of the issue, right? Like that, a lot of the people watching it don't understand the struggles of the people who are the focus of the commercial, right?
Right.
Because you've never been through that. If you've never experienced it, you can't really comment on it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tough in that regard. But I think what they did with it was kind of, accurate as well, really, to be honest. I can't say that, Japan's particularly, I don't know how to put it. I mean, they're not like overtly racist, in-your-face racist. Or
If you compare it to like 1950s, 1920s, 1900s, early 1900s, South America, for example.
Yeah.
In Texas and, Louisiana, Mississippi. It's not like that, okay? We're not talking like, in America, we had the thing that's called a green book. It was a book published by black people to know where they could stay in hotels or what restaurants they could eat at. Because literally speaking, even though slavery had been ended for almost 100 years at that point, they weren't welcome in restaurants. They weren't welcome in hotels and motels and things like that. So they literally had to publish a book that said if you're on the road and you're driving around, these are the safe places that you can stop. And even then, like there are curfew towns where, if you were driving a car and black at night, you went to jail. Right? We're not talking about that. Okay. We're not that level in Japan, right?
Well, I think the main difference here is that as opposed to, 100% immigrants, there's a lot of people who've got mixed heritage. So one parent's a foreign person, one parent's a Japanese person. And that creates a whole new slew of problems. So in the UK, after the Second World War, you got
India,
a lot of people
right?
from India, right, coming to live there. Bangladesh, Pakistan, places like that. And those people were full-on immigrants. So they formed their own communities.
Yeah.
To support each other because they were in a hostile environment. people weren't very friendly to them. And they integrated through a lot of effort, into British society. And now they're part of, Britain, really.
They're the best part because they make the best food, right?
Well, they make lovely curry, yeah, that's true. Which is now our national dish, I think. But, so that doesn't really happen in Japan so much. I mean, there are Chinese communities, Korean communities, I guess, but they do tend to blend in, to the Japanese, strata or whatever. I don't know.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. So zainichi I don't even know what the English word is for that. I guess it's like...
So they call it special residents, I think.
Special residents that are Korean-based people.
Something
Basically,
like that.
after the war, right, there was a displaced community of Koreans in Japan who aren't Japanese, but they aren't Korean anymore. And so they're just kind of like this special kind of bubble. But the thing about them is most of the time you don't know that they have any Korean blood in them. They just blend in.
Yeah.
Because especially if they're born here and then they're educated here, they speak Japanese like a Japanese person, they basically look Japanese. And like there have been a couple times, I don't even know, is zainichi a bad word? I don't even, Hayato?
It's not something that, I mean, it kind of, that's who they are, but we tend not to say that.
Because I don't hear it on the news and stuff like that. I hear it in movies, but I don't hear it on the news.
Yeah, it's not really a good thing to say.
And like I had a friend who I didn't even know was I don't even know what the right word to call that person is, but Korean blooded, Japanese born, Japan born, I don't know. I didn't know that because they just look like a Japanese person. And then one day when we were drinking, that person got kind of drunk and got emotional and confessed to me, about that person's background and everything. And then that's the first time I really got like tuned into this whole idea of zainichi and that stuff. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I started researching it and I realized that it's a really very, very difficult problem. And I think a majority of Japanese people just want to ignore it. Like it's not there.
Because when you write the kanji for it, the Chinese letter for it, zai is like stay in Japan. So basically they're just like,
guests, right?
Guests.
Yeah.
Even though they're born here, they're still considered like they're called that name.
And a lot of them don't even speak Korean. They have no ties to Korea anymore, and they're just basically Japanese people. But they have this special. It's a problem. But that's just one example. And that type of person was in the commercial.
That was in the commercial, because they had the Japanese name, and then the last scene they'd kind of crossed it out and written the Korean name on the back as well.
Yeah.
So that sense of identity, it's a big message, I think. But
so let's talk about really quick. You mentioned the UK a little bit. Now, Alex, when you were growing up, my image of England is white people. Okay, because like that's where my blood goes back to Ireland and to England.
Yeah.
And so that that's the white part of me. But when you were growing up, when you looked around, when you looked to your left and your right in school, was it just white kids, or was it quite diverse?
So my school was kind of, primarily white, I guess, but there were some kids of Indian descent, Chinese as well. Obviously, kids from like black families as well, and then Korean kid was there as well.
Was it? Yeah. Do you think that racism was a part of your upbringing?
I think it was because I don't know. It's not like the let's go and get this guy type attitude. It's just that when teenagers get together or whatever, they tend to form in groups and out groups, and then you find the easiest thing to pick on someone, right?
Right.
The fat kid, or the kid who's too tall or skinny, or who's got freckles or spots or whatever it is, and it's the easiest thing to pick up on, because kids don't really have any imagination, right? To say the truth, when they're teenagers or whatever. So I mean, I wouldn't say I saw like horribly overt racism or anything like that, but at the same time, having lived here for the last 15 years, I can sympathize with somebody who might not feel like they're a part of the main group in any given situation.
Who feels that they're out of the main group,
right?
I'm
not comparing my experience to, the experience that's been suffered by people of different ethnicities in the US and the UK, but I can kind of understand what it means to be in an out group, having been brought up in a majority. You know what I mean?
So like for me, like, living 10 plus years in Japan, being the outside person, being stared at, being, the non-default person in this country, I want to say that I can a little bit more appreciate the plight of people of different ethnicities in America. But I would never say that I understand what it means to be black in America. Like I could never do that. But at least I have a better understanding now, having been the outsider, that it makes me curious and it makes me want to appreciate more the struggles in which somebody who is the outsider has to deal with growing up.
Well, you have a starting point for empathy then.
Right.
Right. So instead of just being sympathetic and saying, poor you can actually imagine what it might be like, push it beyond what you've experienced and think, well, maybe this person has this problem as well.
Right.
That sense of empathy can create, a connection between people. And that's essentially what solves these kind of problems in the end, really. Empathy, I think. And the problem in Japan is that people are sympathetic but not empathetic.
Because they don't have experience with it.
Because they don't have an experience of it. And they're not bad people.
Yeah.
It's not like the people are, horrible, evil, racist or something like that. It's nothing like that.
In fact, I would suggest that Japanese people are probably, as a country, more welcoming of foreign people than other countries in general.
I think so, yeah.
But with that said, there's still that level of, outsider otherism that exists. I want to talk to Hayato about this too. Hayato, you had the reverse experience because you were born Japanese in Japan. You basically look Japanese. I mean, like, you're a quarter white, but most people don't realize that.
Not when I was a child. I was a really pretty boy.
What happened?
Yeah, what happened? Genetics, man. I don't know.
But you went to the U.S., into California, into a place that I would suggest that where you grew up, there's probably few white people, right?
Yeah, it's basically none. I didn't.
What was your experience in that situation?
Well, I mean, to begin with, when I was in Japan, like going back to the commercial things, like if you lived in other countries, like you were born in America, you were born in England, and coming to Japan and feeling that racism, sort of, it's different story when a child who's mixed was born in Japan, growing up, and they have no choice because they were born there. They can't speak English. They consider themselves as Japanese, but they don't get treated like Japanese.
Let's really talk about that for a second, because sometimes I have this issue as well, because like you and I, we're both mixed, right? Mm-hmm. But you're the opposite of me. Yeah. So like sometimes, since I've been living in Japan for so long, right? Sometimes when I'm hanging out with my Japanese friends, we're all speaking Japanese, we're just living the Japanese life. I forget that I'm a white guy. Do you know what I mean? I forget that my hardware looks like this. And then someone will remind me of that. Someone will be my mirror and they'll say like, oh my God, gaijin or something like that. And then I'll be reminded that I don't look like everyone else. And then that's a really isolating feeling.
Yeah. I think, in Japan, you're trying to blend in. Mm-hmm. No matter like who you are, you're trying to blend in. You don't want to stand out, especially when you're a kid, right? I think it goes any other countries, but you just want to blend in with the rest of the other kids, basically. So, but when you're grown up, you're grown up, you're an adult, then this mixed thing becomes like, not like a weapon, but it's like something that you can use it as advantage, most like. But when you're a kid, you got to blend in. Like I was just trying to just be with everybody else
in Japan. But did people know that you were mixed? I mean, like
it looked different. Like I said, I was very pretty, so they picked on me and called me names. Like
also, your
America.
dad, your dad is very visibly mixed.
Yeah, he is.
So, like, if dad brings you to school or something like that, it's like, oh, there's Hayato with that white guy father kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, basically. But I didn't even know I was mixed until I went to America. So that was actually a little mind trip there. But after going to America, it was same. I was just trying to blend in, basically. I didn't really, because there are so many different races, but it's just hard to, I don't know. It's just, we're minorities. So minority sticks with minorities. So basically my friends were basically like just people who's from other countries, basically. So,
well, you also had the language issue too when you went to America.
Yeah.
But coming back to Japan, I want to bring up something. I'm sorry if this is painful for you, Hayato. This is a memory that I want to talk about. I was with you in a bar once, and the bar master asked you to go get food for something, right? Mm-hmm. So you go to the convenience store. You're doing a favor for the asshole guy who's working at this bar. And you go and you get food from the convenience store. You bring it back. And he was talking to a customer. Mm-hmm. So you wanted to be polite. And so you set down the food and you didn't say anything, okay? Now, he was drunk, and in Japan, when you give something, you always have to say a word like, dozo or something like that. It's polite to say something when you give something to someone. But at that time, you just didn't want to interrupt him, and it set him off. And he said to you one of the most hurtful things I've ever heard my entire life. He says, if you want to act like a fucking gaijin, go back to your home country. And then you said to him in Japanese, he said, where should I go home to?
Yeah, basically.
For me, that then, sorry guys, I got set off after that. I started screaming and yelling at the bartender. I thought it was the most racist, most discriminatory thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And it was wrong for him to say that, but that's the feeling that a lot of people have, is like, go home to where you came from. But if you're a mixed kid, where the hell did you come from?
Yeah. I think when I was a kid, I always had that feeling like, okay, where do I belong to? Where's my home? Like, if I'm here, if I get treated like I'm mixed or considered as an outsider, then if I go to America, I'm not from America. So there's just a little bit of conflict in my head, like, okay, with the belongingness, basically. So I think a lot of half kids, they feel that way. So, it's just a very, very serious thing that goes in your head.
Alex, you're from England, you're English, okay?
Yeah.
That's, I mean, like, you get that. Let's talk about your children for a minute here. They're biracial.
Yeah.
So, like, in their mind, where's home? Where do they come from?
I mean, obviously they were born in Kagoshima, raised in Kagoshima, go to a regular Japanese school, didn't go to international school or anything like that. So all their classmates are Japanese. They've been going to Japanese education since they were born, essentially. So for them, Kagoshima's their home, right?
Yeah.
This is what they know more than anything
But
else.
also, grandma and grandpa are English. And they go visit them sometimes in the summer,
Yeah,
right?
we try and take them over there as much as possible. And then obviously stay for a couple of weeks with my parents as well. But they don't get the real English experience, because when they go, it's a summer holiday. And they're lucky as well, because we can go. There's a lot of people who can't. It's expensive. It costs a lot of money. And we're very lucky to have the opportunity. But for them, it's always a holiday. It's never an experience of life in England. So it's very different from the reality that English kids face every day. And it really doesn't prepare them for living in that country either.
Do you think that either of them will live in England in the future? Do you want them to?
I think I want them just to be happy wherever they are. I'm not really bothered which country they're in. I think that they might be happier outside of Japan, to tell you the truth.
Why do you say that?
Because they would have to become 100% Japanese, if you will.
That's interesting. Let's really talk about that. What are you saying when you say that? I understand what you're saying, but I want you to explain it to our audience.
All right, it's a difficult topic. So basically, as a foreign person here, you're granted certain leniences that the Japanese people themselves wouldn't get.
Yeah.
Because you're not expected to understand the entire system or how things work and things like that. So there's a lot of things like, just senpai kohai, like the seniority thing, the use of language, use of behavior, not saying your opinion. There's a lot of different kind of cultural nuances that are built into Japan, mainly through the language, I think, actually. That, to me, would seem restrictive if you knew about the rest of the world.
Right.
So these kids have been outside quite a lot, so they do know about what people kind of talk about in foreign countries, and they watch a lot of foreign TV. So they kind of got a worldliness about them that would probably get squashed by the system here in Japan.
Because Japan really, what do you say in Japanese? The nail that sticks out gets the hammer?
Derukui.
Derukuyu tareru ne. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not true all the time by any stretch of the imagination. There are some very, very outward thinking, creative, international people in this country. It's not everybody by any stretch of the imagination.
But if they entered a typical company...
Yeah, the system itself is geared towards the fact that it, creates this homogenous block of people, and that's, the junior high school education system basically that does that.
I don't know why I would never put my kids through Japanese school. Like maybe elementary school, until elementary school maybe.
Yeah.
After that, I would pull them out and put them in international school. I just think that the educational system in Japan makes kids stupid.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. But it was just a matter of choice at the time. We didn't have that opportunity. But
your son is not typical Japanese. Well, every time that I've had a conversation with him, he's cheeky as shit. One,
yeah,
he's got a lot of you in him. Like I can see that. But also he's probably really popular. He's a good-looking boy.
Yeah,
and he doesn't look Japanese 100%. He looks mixed.
Yeah,
and he's grown up in an era where being half is cool. Right? So
yeah.
he's I don't want to say he's a victim of racism, but he is, but a positive racism, right?
Yes and no. I mean, it's all about your feelings, right? I mean, even if you're, good looking or whatever. I mean, I'm not saying he is particularly good looking or whatever.
He's a cute kid.
But standing out in any faculty is going to get you attention that you might not necessarily want. You know, and that's the crux of the matter, really. I mean, he used to play baseball and they'd go to away games with other schools. So the kids he played with, he's been with since he was like a baby, basically. So they all know him and there's no problem. But when they go to another school, it's like, oh, America jin ga iru. So they're always pointing and saying American and stuff like that. And then all his friends look at him like, what?
And all of a sudden he's the other.
Yeah. And then you feel totally removed from the situation. So I feel really sorry for him when I saw that. You know, I was like, oh, come on, you know. And the kids that saying it don't know.
That's the thing, is like, I want to say that, I want to underline this. Most of the racism that happens in Japan is not intentional racism. It's not people trying to be hurtful. It's just ignorance.
Yeah.
And not understanding, because a lot of people in Japan have never experienced being around someone who's not Japanese. And so once they see someone who's different, it's like if I saw somebody who was pink, a pink person walk in front of me, I was like, oh my God, that guy's pink.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the same reaction that they're doing. Like, oh, America Gene, because they think that he's, you know, American, because that's all they say. They see Tom Cruise and shit on television, so they think he's American.
Like, you wouldn't, a big, overweight guy came into a room, you wouldn't go, you fat fuck, you know, and point at them. You know what I mean?
I might.
I mean, if you were the friend, maybe, or something like that. But generally, you don't talk about people's appearance. You don't talk about people.
But don't you feel that Japanese people tend to like have like sudden word out their mouth syndrome, where they just like whatever pops in their head they say?
Yeah. Well, especially kids.
Yeah.
Right. The kids are honest.
Yeah.
So I think it's really tough for kids who's growing up, hitting that puberty or all that kid shit.
Yeah, wait. No,
it's really tough.
I'm coming for you, Japan. A lot of Japanese people just say whatever the hell that they're thinking at the time.
Yeah,
Girls, when they see a hot guy, they'll be like, "Ikeme." In America, girls won't be like, damn, that guy's hot. They won't, unless they're retarded. They won't say that. You know, like they will keep it to themselves. And when the guy is gone, they'll be like, oh, that dude was hot. Did you see him? It's like, there's a coolness to it. But Japanese goes, and you're just like, did you have control of yourself right now? Did that just like, what happened?
I like that though.
I like it as well. Actually.
I don't get it that often, but I love it when it happens.
Yeah. There is that though. I mean, people talk about like, "Futotane," is one of the first things that I get told all the time.
Fat shaming is such a thing in this country. My God, you gain 1 kilogram and everybody notices it. They're like, oh my God, Mitch, you are so fat. What are you going to do? Girls won't like you like this.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just ruined my day. Like, what's wrong with you?
So, I mean, when I used to teach English, I used to say, when you're starting a conversation with somebody, if you're going to say something, just make sure it's complimentary. If it's about their appearance, never say anything negative.
Say something nice. Like,
say something nice
shirt or nice hair or something, right? Anyway, getting back to like what your son experienced in the baseball situation, did that make you pull him out of baseball? Did he stop doing baseball?
No, he didn't. No, I mean, he stopped doing it eventually just because he got bored of it. But you know, thank God. Thank God. Do an English sport instead. But he, you know, he just swallowed it basically, and that makes me worry as a parent, right? Because how much does he have to put up with that? You know, he's not telling us as well. So, I mean, he's got good friends around him who are supportive of him and things like that, and you know, have known him for so long they don't even see him as being other, really. But when I go to school for things like sports day, it reminds everybody, right? So they're all like, aha, you know, foreign dad, you know. And I always felt alienated as well, like undokai and stuff like the sports festivals.
Because you're probably the only white guy there.
Yeah, usually, yeah.
It's like you, the white guy, and maybe a Filipino person over here, and everybody else is Japanese, right?
Yeah. So it feels very strange, because that is the most Japanese of events, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's the symbol of the Japanese education system almost.
But, you know, in reverse, though, one of a family we have in our Eikawa school, the father divorced the mother and then moved back to where the hell that guy came from. And so there's the grandmother and the mother have 3 kids that they're raising together. And then undokai, the sports day, you know, it's a thing where the family comes and dad has to do the running and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And so they don't have a father. And that's also a big area of contention in Japan, that when the fatherless kids are at the undokai, it's like an embarrassing thing for them.
Yeah.
And so what the grandmother asked me to do, she said, can you please come and support and cheer and run and do all the things? And I said, okay. So me and a couple other teachers went. And so like they were the coolest family at the undokai, because they had like the foreign like guys that came and like helped out.
Yeah.
So I mean, like we do have the kind of positive experiences.
Yeah.
But that's me choosing to participate in that situation.
Yeah.
In your case, you don't choose.
That's true.
You have to be there.
I mean, I always get this with like school trips, for example, come quite often to Sengaen. So they'll bring like hundreds of kids or whatever at the same time. And they'll almost always walk past me and everybody say hello, hello, like that. And I don't mind it. I say hello back, obviously. But I think the school education system's teaching, the kids that basically all foreigners are fun, like ALTs. You know what I mean? Like, if you were walking down the street in England, you wouldn't be saying konnichiwa or ni hao to every Asian
like
person
Asian-looking people, yeah.
Because they'd be like, what are you doing,
What's wrong with you?
So, that invasiveness, and the teachers don't tell them to stop. They're just like, communicate, kokusai kori and all this stuff, internationalization.
But isn't that hard? Because they want the children to make those bonds with international people. But then we're like the unicorns, right? We're the foreign people living in Japan.
Yeah.
Which they haven't been educationally prepared for.
But then, I mean, like Daiki told me that he'd go to a shop sometimes and they'd try and speak to him in English. And he'd be like, trying to speak back in Japanese. And they'd continue to speak in English. And he'd be like, what? I'm Japanese, like, what I mean?
Like, I only speak Japanese. Can you please talk to me in my mother
It's
language?
weird. And once my wife was at the supermarket with me at the register, and the woman on the register goes to her, "Your Japanese is so good."
And she's like, goes, "Thanks, I've been practicing for a while."
I'm fully Japanese.
You stupid ass.
Yeah, Kagoshima's a bit late on the on the game here, the mixed game.
Hayato, let me ask you this. Okay, so when you were a kid, you're in Japan, right? You stayed here until what, 3rd grade, was it?
Yeah, 4th grade.
4th grade?
Yeah.
Did you, when you went to Undokai with Dad, because your dad is quite the character. I mean, he's, not only is he foreign looking, he's just a character. Like, he's straight out of a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
How was the Undokai experience for you?
I don't think he came. I don't remember him being there. But like I said, like, I didn't know I was mixed until I went to America.
How was it in America, though? That's like, what was the thing that made you realize?
That my dad told me that I'm mixed. Like, I didn't know up until then. I didn't know.
But you met your grandpa, right?
In America.
You're like, here's this white guy who only speaks English. This is
like,
your grandpa.
That's why I look this way. Like, I didn't even know.
You're so stupid.
No, seriously, because my grandma at the time, she was with the guy. He's Japanese.
Yeah.
So I thought he was the grandpa.
Right.
So I kept calling him grandpa, but it turned out he wasn't.
Stupid.
So, yeah, but, I get name called when you're like, what is it with every foreign people is American.
Yeah.
In Japan.
You probably get that too. It's like, America Gene.
Oh, all the time, yeah.
Because like if you're white, basically you're American.
Yeah. Basically everybody comes from America.
But Hayato, actually, I had a similar experience. My mother is half Japanese. She was born and raised in Japan. She immigrated to the United States, learned English when she was almost an adult. I didn't know that she was Japanese until I was well into like elementary school because her English is so good. And then like she kind of doesn't look, she kind of looks Italian, to be honest. I mean, she does. She doesn't look like a Japanese woman.
Yeah.
And then like one day she picks up the phone and she's like, "Moshi moshi, so desu ka?" And I was just like, I was like, what just happened to my mom? Like she just became this new person, like speaking a foreign language. I was just like, whoa, do that again.
Yeah.
And then I realized, I was like, wait, what do you mean, Mom? You're Japanese? She's like, yeah, and so are you. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm blonde. But yeah, it was interesting to have that conversation as a kid.
Yeah. But, in America, it's more easier to be mixed.
Yeah.
You can blend in. But it's easier if you were born in America as, other race. It's easier for them. Like me, like Fob,
Fob, fresh off
the boat Fob kind of guy. We had to stick together with the other boat crew members.
Did people think that you were Mexican in California?
No, they did, and I was like, "That's fine. I'll stay Mexican if I can blend with everybody.
If I can be your friend, just call me anything you want."
My wife said that as well, though, when she was what's it called, exchange student in the US
in California, right?
Yeah, everyone thought she was Mexican.
I'm trying to picture your wife. Nah, she's not Mexican. She's
seriously though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, she maybe Latin American, but not Mexican.
Wow.
I don't think so. Did she have short hair at the time?
No, I don't think so.
Maybe with longer hair. I've never seen her with longer hair, but with short hair, she definitely does not look.
Yeah.
Maybe Latino or something. But anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, like my Fukushacho, the VP of my company, is a full-on Japanese woman, given she does look a little exotic for being Japanese. But every time she go to California, people are like, "Hola!" And she's just like, did I learn English for no reason? Like everybody's speaking to me in Spanish. But yeah, Josh, let me ask you. I mean, you're weird because your dad is like full on Japanese, lives in Kagoshima with you, but your mom's a blonde woman in America. What was your experience?
Well, I think I probably had the easiest experience because I grew up in Hawaii.
Right.
And like,
Hapahali.
yeah, everyone in Hawaii is basically like 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 million ethnicities mixed
Unless
together.
they're actually Hawaiian.
Well, there are barely any like 100% Hawaiian people, but most people are mixed. So it didn't feel unnatural to me. And also kind of like Hayato said, I was born in America. So like being mixed and born in America,
Not a big deal.
not a big deal. And like kind of like what Alex said, whenever I came to Japan, I came like every year, every summer to Japan on holiday. And it really did just feel like a holiday. And I got all of that like positive racism, I guess. And I just kind of grew up with like that, like, oh yeah, yay me. I can say konnichiwa and I can use chopsticks. Yeah. And
how about now that you live here though?
Now that I'm older, I see the positive racism still sometimes, but it's more the like still like not feeling like I'm a real 100% accepted part of this society that kind of like bothers me a little bit. Like I'll go to shops like Mossburger, for example, and I'll order in Japanese and then they'll like struggle to like respond in English.
It's so weird. I never get this. Everybody speaks to me in Japanese.
Yeah,
no one speaks to me in English.
It happens to me like pretty often where like I'll order and then they'll be like, dorinku, cola. I'm like,
You're like, yes.
No, I'll respond in Japanese saying like, no, I would like some tea and I'll have this. And they're like, house eat. I'm like, what? Just talk to me in Japanese. Come on. Yeah. So I think that's the
I
only,
never get that. As white as I look, I never get that. Everybody speaks to me in Japanese.
maybe because you're on TV.
No, because not everybody's seen me on TV. Like, I just never get this. Although when we're together, you get that and I don't, which is the weirdest thing.
Yeah, that is the weird thing. Even though like
You look more Japanese than I do.
I get it when I'm with you or somebody else. If there's a group of like foreign people, then everything defaults to mental overload, you know.
Yeah.
Me
Can't
too.
deal.
When I'm with Mitch.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, Hayato, before he met me, he lived in Japan kind of like as a Japanese guy, right? And although he did used to have a blonde girlfriend, we don't want to talk about that. She was cute. She surfed too. She was cool. He didn't really get the experience of being a foreigner in Japan until he started really hanging out with me. And like we'd be walking around and people would talk shit about us in English or in Japanese. And he'd be like, bitch, I can fucking understand you.
Yeah. It's like every time. Because if I'm with other people, like Japanese people, I'm like Japanese. But
Right.
if I'm with you, then I'm like, yeah.
He's the foreign guy.
We get that like shit talking going on. It's like,
But it's not so much now. I think it's kind of faded out over the last 10 years. But man, it really happened in the beginning.
yeah. But you know, when you grown up, then when you went through all that shit as a kid, you kind of see as an advantage now. Like I'm different. So what? Like, no, I'm not saying I'm better than everybody else, but I'm just saying this could be used as an advantage.
I have to with you, especially, you have a magic key to the world because you speak English and Japanese fluently. So it doesn't matter where you go in Japan or in other countries, you can exist. You'll be fine. And that I think is a wonderful thing. I mean, it's granted you your life. Everything that you do in your career is revolving around English. And so like that is something that you can always thank your grandfather for and your father for moving to America and living there for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And that's a wonderful gift. And Alex, I think with your children, they have that bicultural background. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about Christmas at your house? Can you tell us what your wonderful wife does for Christmas?
Oh yeah.
Because God damn, I get jealous when I see that on Facebook.
So she's into Christmas, right?
Yeah, she is.
So I think that's because we went back to my parents' house a couple of times for Christmas and things like that. And my mum always does like a full-on thing for the kids.
Like a British
or whatever.
Christmas.
Yeah. So Chisato kind of learned to cook all the food or whatever and do all table decorations and stuff. They specially order it in.
It's like a scene from Home Alone. It's like the crazy table and all the dressings and everything, and a very cheeky and kind of like Jiman like bragging post on Facebook.
Oh yeah, I do that every year. Yeah. So,
but your average Japanese kid doesn't get that growing up. They first of all, they don't sit in a table with chairs and like the wonderful setting. They just like usually sit on the yukata. Not yukata, was it? Tatami,
Yeah.
kotatsu,
Yeah.
tatami, and then they're sitting there and they have like the fried chicken for Christmas, maybe, and like a shitty cake that they bought at the supermarket.
That's such an old generalization of Japan.
I think it's
we
changing
sit in
now.
chairs now, okay?
No, dude, there's so many people who still sit on the floor, man.
Yeah, I know.
Whenever I visit my Japanese friends, I'm like, you're still on the floor. Like we stopped doing this years ago. Come on, guys.
You gotta upgrade. Come on.
But I mean, Christmas here is changing as well. People have started to, do more Western kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Halloween as well. I mean, when I started doing Halloween originally for English
People
school
are like,
level,
what the hell's wrong with you?
the police told me to stop. They said it's it's the same as doing a demonstration march. So you need to get permission.
Illegal activity.
And then they told me that if an old woman saw a kid with a mask on and had a heart attack, it would be my fault. And
Is
I would
that
have
really what they told you?
Yeah, and I would have to go to the funeral. That's what they said. I'm not shitting you.
Crazy, man.
So I was like, well,
How did we go from racism to killing an old lady with a mask, dude?
I don't know. Ask the police. I coach him a policeman. I don't know.
Dude, they are so. I love them. They are so they have so much free time. They have. There's nothing for them to do every day.
It's just like creativity with ways to ruin people's fucking day. But anyway, yeah. Well, we eventually did it and brought it in. But anyway, Halloween's changed, and so is Christmas now. Christmas is starting to change as well, I think. But it's still a big build-up with nothing at the end. You know what I mean?
Christmas.
Yeah. So for Japanese kids, I always think, well, fuck,
Oh, they don't get the presents.
Yeah, I think they get presents, but it's like there's no day off and there's no sitting in front of the TV, eating
Boxing
food.
days and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Boxing Day is the best, man.
Yeah.
But so we try and give the kids those experiences, and hopefully that'll, show them that people do other shit abroad as well.
What do you think your son is going to do when he gets older?
Sato seems to think he's going to move to New Zealand and become a farmer.
What?
I don't know why she's got that in her head. But I mean, fair enough. You know what I mean? This seems like a right thing to do.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Hayato, you were talking about moving to New Zealand at some point.
Yeah, I've decided not to because I don't have money.
Become an organic farmer and you can make some down there.
Yeah.
Right now, New Zealand's the place to be. They're the only COVID-free part of the world, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got their shit together. It's not a bad. I was honestly during this whole pandemic looking at New Zealand, like that's not a bad looking place,
Yeah.
But then it's going to be like California, where everybody moves there and it becomes shit.
Yeah,
you don't want that. You don't want that.
Gentrification.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the topic though. So we've got Naomi Osaka.
Yeah, she's in the video, right? Yeah.
Now let's talk about her. Like, what is she in your guys' eyes? First, I want to ask Hayato about this because you come from that mixed background. Is she Japanese to you? Is she American? And what does it mean to be Japanese? Because I don't even know what that means.
That's a difficult question because first she can speak Japanese, but she's not very good at Japanese.
Yeah, she's like daisuki tayo.
Yeah, so there's a language thing
Yeah.
that kind of makes it seem like she's not from Japan.
Right.
I think the language barrier. But her name is like straight up Japanese name.
Right.
I didn't know Osaka was a surname. I never knew that.
Isn't she also from Osaka?
That must be confusing.
Yeah.
Or not confusing.
But you can tell she's mixed.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to say, is she Japanese or not?
Well, she didn't grow up in Japan, did she?
No, she didn't, right? Yeah.
So for me, like the Japaneseness of being Japanese comes in the language, because if you don't have like keigo and things like that to modify your behavior in line with what you can and can't say, you can't really understand the nuances of Japanese society.
Right.
So if you don't speak the language, you can never really understand it, I don't think.
Yeah, that's one thing I felt like, because she didn't speak Japanese, so I felt like she's not from Japan. That's just like.
So I'm gonna blow your mind with this challenge. Deaf people don't speak, but there's deaf Japanese people. They don't speak Japanese language.
But they speak Japanese sign language.
They speak Japanese sign language, but they don't speak Japanese. So, but they're still Japanese. So,
but they read Japanese.
What if Osaka could read it, but she just can't speak it?
But she can't though.
No, what I'm saying is that's just a one factor of you see a person, whether she's from here or not, which is like, I don't even care about that. But
in her situation, I think it's a little zuri. It's a little, because like she was born and raised basically in America, right? But she has a Japanese passport because that way she could qualify for, you know, a lot of, because she's, you know, in Japan, she's hot shit. She's the top of the world right now, but it was easier for her to climb the ladder in using a Japanese passport than it was using a US passport, I think.
Yeah.
And so that makes people think like, but Japanese, just like Americans and everybody else in the world, they love a winner. So the second she took the crown, all of Japan was like, she's Japanese.
Yeah.
We took the crown, guys. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And
I think for foreigners that live here, though, going back to that, it does feel like you've done time in Japan, right?
You've done time.
So I'm not joking. Seriously. Because the first thing you say to people when you meet them is, how long have you been living here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody says that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an annoying question, but it's like, yo, I've done 10 years, man. Whatever. Yeah. It's like being in the joint, man.
That's not a prison.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
but like Osaka Naomi, she's like mixed with black, right?
Right.
But I think there's a different treatment compared to if you're mixed with white
halves
or
and darker
black.
halves. Yeah.
If you're white, I read this somewhere, but if you're white mixed, you can be on TV. Everyone's gonna like cheer for you,
Yeah.
whatever. But if you're black, you gotta, you know, like Naomi, or you have this Olympic marathon runners. If you gotta do sports or you gotta do something to like prove yourself, which is like.
So I know of a story of this girl, a Japanese girl, had a black boyfriend, okay? And they wanted to get married. And so she took him home, and the father was like, get that black devil out of here. Like, get him out of here.
Oh,
Like, what are you
serious?
doing? And like that, I didn't know that, I didn't think about this until I heard the story. But there is actually a difference in the racism that you receive based upon where you come from.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I would suggest that Chinese, Koreans, and other like Asian people probably get the shortest end of the stick. They get the worst of it. And then like your European whites, blondes, and blue-eyed, they get the best of it. And then everything between, right? So like in Naomi's case, you know, being black and half, definitely, if she wasn't a superstar in tennis, you know, like it would have been a much bigger struggle for her than if it was like, you know, a white and white half kid, for sure.
Yeah,
I
but,
mean,
yeah.
There's pigeonholing there, isn't there? I mean, that's, you know, it's like you got to be good at sports then.
Yeah.
If you're half black
Yeah.
or whatever. I mean, like I saw an interview of this girl who was like, one of the parents was black, I think from the US, and one was like Japanese or whatever. And she was saying like, everybody thinks I'm supposed to be good at sports, but I'm shit at sports, and I like reading.
And
you
I
know?
like reading.
So like basically, why do I have to put up with this stereotype just because people, you know,
But doesn't that
who are
hap-
mixed are good at sports?
Does
as
that happen
well?
everywhere in the world? Because if you're a
I
black dude in America and you can't dance, it's like, what happened? Like, like, were you manufactured incorrectly? Like, you know, it's there. And if you're an Asian kid, you're like, dude, he's good at math. Let's have him on our study team. You know, like there is that stereotyping in other countries as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially in Japan, like we tend to look at the African Americans or black people. We like they're scary or they do bad things. That's the stereotype of what Japanese
Do you
think
remember
about
that
black people.
Black Lives Matter thing that NHK did?
Oh yeah, they
That
did. Yeah,
animation
they
thing.
drew the black guy like.
They drew like a caricature of a black guy with like a wife beater vest on and a pimp hat and a gold chain.
Yeah, they're super muscular, and it's just everyone was like, "What the fuck is this?"
And he's walking down the street going like, "Yo, something like that."
Yeah.
What?
No, they were trying to explain what this Black Lives Matter is all about on NHK, and they made an cartoon
That's
animation.
super racist, dude.
It
Send
was
that to
so
me, Josh.
racist.
Dude, send that to me. I gotta see this.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I mean, it was hilariously racist. I mean, terrible. Really, really bad, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, it just shows the lack of awareness, really.
I had a student a couple years ago that said to me, like, when she was in a foreign country, she was like, I got on the bus and there was a black man next to me and I was so scared. I just looked at him and was like, dude, are you unaware that what you said is so fucked up? Like, what's wrong with you? He was black. I'm like, being black is not a crime, lady. What the hell, man? But at that point, like, I knew that she wasn't trying to be like racist. She was just saying what she was thinking. So I told her, I was like, what's wrong with being black? She's like, he was scary. I'm like, well, you know, there's a lot of nice black people out there too, lady. I was just like, what the fuck do I say?
Yeah. It's just the stereotype.
Oh
right?
my God. What is this?
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay, we'll also put this in the link
It's
below.
pretty terrible.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll watch this later. That's cringy. Jesus Christ, NHK.
Yeah.
Good job.
Well done,
Yeah.
national broadcaster.
You made black people look more scary. It's terrible, man.
Hayato, can I ask you this question? When you're hanging out with all your Japanese friends, you're blending in. You put on your your Japanese skin, right? Do people just casually drop? Because me and Alex, obviously we're foreign, right? So if we're hanging out with our Japanese friends, they're not going to do this.
Yeah.
But do Japanese people around you just casually drop like racist shit?
No, not at all. Just nothing. They don't even talk about like they know that I am mixed or whatever, but no, it's none of that. Like friends are friends. Like we all there's no race or nothing. Just hanging out.
My ex-girlfriend, okay, she was sorry, girl, you don't understand English, so it doesn't matter. She was so dumb. She knows, and I've said this to her, so we'll it's fine. Just put it on the air. She was so dumb that she didn't realize I was foreign. She thought I was like Mickey Mouse. Like I was just born looking different from all the other humans that she knows. So she never said racist shit to me, saying, "Oh, because you're foreign, you XYZ." She never did that. She always treated me like an equal because she thought I was Mickey Mouse.
Right.
Okay. And that was great for me. I love that about her. Like she innocently thought that I was just this different thing that came out of the TV or something. And she never said anything racist to me. And it was great. And then when we would hang out with her friends, they would say racist shit and she would get super hurt.
Right.
She'd be like, "Why are you being so mean to my Mickey Mouse? He's such a nice guy." And like, but they didn't know. Like she didn't understand that like I'm actually just like this foreign guy that other people actually do make fun of. And then she got the nickname USA.
Right.
People would call her USA. And so I felt really bad for her because she had no context in which to deal with this, right?
Yeah.
But like at the same time, I really loved that about her, that she just thought that I was this like not an American Mitch, that I was just like Michi, like Mickey Mouse basically.
Right.
We need that kind of mentality on
Mickey Mouse.
Michi Mouse. No,
Yeah.
but that was great about her. I really like that about her. But then, and then most of my Japanese friends that I hang out with, they don't think of me as like Mitch the American. They think of me as just like this character. And I love that. That's because that's who I want to be. I just want to be me, right?
Yeah.
But then again, when I go home to America and I hang out with my American friends, I also feel, do you feel this, Alex? I don't fit with them anymore. Like I'm different from them now. Doing time in the clink.
Yeah. They've done time in Japan, man, for 15 years or whatever. But yeah, I think it's a little different because obviously living here for a long time, just basic shit changes, like your food tastes. I mean, I didn't really like a lot of food here when I first came. I got used to it. I like it now. My tastes have changed. When I went back to Europe on a business trip last year, I ate loads of European food. And I felt like bloated all the time, man.
Yeah.
Like it was too heavy for me.
I can't. The American diet, they eat whatever shit and then they wash it down with this Coke.
Yeah.
And I look at that and I'm just like, oh, diabetes. Like I just can't. I can't do it.
But this just simple things change like that, and I think it does make it more difficult when you go back just to try and fit in. But I mean, as an adult, I don't have it that hard. You know, I might have my little ups and downs occasionally, but I'm
little.
little. But I'm not going to get upset. If I was a kid and growing up at a difficult time, I had to deal with some shit like that. It might affect me, but because I'm an adult, I just don't really. I just think it's curious,
Yeah, but going back to that commercial, Nike commercial, where it's not really. It's also about racism, but it's also about how Japanese are, where everyone needs to be on the same page, same level. Everybody needs to be the same. You can't stand out. If you're not, whether you're not Japanese or you're Japanese, you get attacked, basically. So it's just, I don't know. Maybe it happens everywhere else, but Japan is just a very special.
US has got like really segregated groups of people, like geeks and fucking jocks or whatever, and all that kind of thing. I don't know.
You're just like quoting like an American movie that's made by Disney. That's all you're saying.
1950s, Grease or something, right?
But, no, we have cliques, right? We click off into our little groups and stuff. It happens.
So I think it happens anywhere, but it just makes the demarcation a lot easier, and the demarcation for Japanese people and those of mixed heritage is much larger because it's like 99 and 1.
Right. I mean, that's guys. If you're watching this from abroad, literally when you walk around in Japan, you just see only Japanese people. And then every now and then you'll see a foreign person. And it's like, if you've ever seen from the 1990s, the Highlander TV series where a mortal comes around another immortal, they have like a spidey sense. That's like the feeling you get when you see another foreign person in Japan. You're like, who are you and why are you encroaching upon my Japanese experience? Like, it's true. Like, it feels weird to see another foreigner, especially if you don't know who they are. You're just like, well, who are you?
Well, I think we've got it particularly like that in Kagoshima. Obviously, Tokyo's a slightly different
Tokyo,
story.
the bigger places are different, but like in the smaller towns in Japan, you do.
Yeah.
And then everybody knows you as well.
Yeah.
And like, people are like, 私のこと知らないけど, Michi, hi. I'm like, if I don't know you, why are you saying hello to me? Like, what is wrong with you?
I say that all the time.
What do you mean?
Oh, look, there's a white man.
Yeah.
Which is bad. That's pretty bad. But
I do that as well now, you know.
You too.
Yeah. I'm just like, look, a white dude.
Dude, I mean,
You said it the other day. The Tenmon comes. We walked past the bar and there was a white dude serving shochu and he goes, who is that white man?
Oh my God. We all racist.
Should we just give up? We're all racist.
Yeah, no, I'm not even kidding. And it does make you more racist to live here. Because think about it. If you see a sea of white sheep and all of a sudden you see a black sheep, you're like, oh, there's actually a black sheep there. I mean, that's the mentality, right?
No, but it's not like I see someone different and I hate you. It's just like, oh, somebody different.
I'm telling you, it's a spidey sense. You're like, do I have to fight this guy?
But I think for kids, though, this is really what that NIKE thing was about, is the kids' perspective.
Yeah.
And the kids in the Japanese school system can feel like that. And Naomi Osaka is standing out as like an icon for those people. It's a good thing. But at the same time, I don't think her as an individual had the same experience. So painting your experience and her experience in the same space is probably not right?
But having her as an icon
It's
still
good.
pushes forward progress in that.
Sure.
I mean, so that's good. But saying that she has the exact same, experience is obviously different. It's not. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys think that in 10, 15, 20 years that this is going to be different, or do you think it's just going to continue?
It's tough because Japan's population is decreasing, right? You've
So
got less children, more old people. So either immigration or, tourism are the only kind of solutions to this.
But, compared to when I was a kid, nowadays I see many mixed kids, which
That's
is
true.
like, in that sense, like the mixed kids, they probably be more and more, I think.
Yeah.
But population-wise, I don't know.
One thing about RA Kawai School that I want to point out is that I don't think our kids have that mentality. I mean, because they're just so around so many different types of cultural people, different type looking people, that I think they just like get the idea like, oh, these people are people too. Cool. That they don't grow up with that otherism mentality. And so that's one huge mission that we have as like an organization at the Stapleton NIKE is that we want to promote that globalization. And then Alex, with you at Sengayen, I mean, your Shacho, your president is a clever dude, and he wanted to globalize. He wanted to bring in that international tourism.
Yeah.
I mean, that initiative happened years ago in Japan where they wanted to increase the international tourism to like, what was it, 45 million or something like that visitors a year. And so he brought you on, and so there are those visionary, forward-thinking people in the country. And I think that that's going to make a big difference because going forward, as you said, the population is shrinking. And if you're if you have one language and you only know this culture, the country is going to suffer economically going forward.
Yeah.
They need to work in a global market. And so that requires English, that requires global cultural sympathy and understanding. And I think that's going to change. It's going to be forced.
Well, that perspective comes with empathy, right? The best way to create empathy is being in a similar situation yourself.
Yeah.
And my advice to Japanese people wanting to understand what it's like to be an outsider within a society would be to go abroad and actually just experience it yourself, and then you can come back and reassess your own opinions. But before that, I mean, thinking like the comments on that Nike advert were kind of like, don't slag off Japan. There was a lot of that reaction.
Actually, it's weird because I think they were like coded by language. Like if they're English, they're like, woohoo, go you guys.
Yeah.
And if they were Korean, there was a couple Korean ones that I auto-translated to English. They were kind of like, it's about time kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the Japanese ones were like, why are you bringing this up? Why are you saying this?
I think that the problem is that in Japan, the mentality is to get on the defensive very quickly. So, we're being, attacked by an American brand as well, that's not really related to the daily life here in Japan. I mean, it sells products here, but, and their attitude is kind of like, we're your customers. What the hell are you talking to us like this for?
Yeah.
But do you think your brand creator, you are an advertising specialist. When you look at that as an ad,
Yeah.
do you think that it's going to be effective?
Oh, it's a very good ad. I mean, like, they did the same thing for the kneeling American football player.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
I've forgotten his name.
Yeah.
That almost certainly didn't sell any more products for Nike, but it, instilled a brand image of, a moral company, the underdog fighting, to overcome adversity. So it's turning it from more of a sports brand into kind of a lifestyle ideal. And Nike's look,
Colin Kaepernick.
That's the one, yeah, Colin Kaepernick. So, I mean, Nike's one of the only brands in the world where you can actually remember the tagline.
Just they have just do it,
Yeah.
right? And then this one was, what is it? It's got sports. What was it? It was like crossed out at the end of the commercial. I forgot what they
I've
said.
forgotten what this one was,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, if you said Reebok, what's their tagline?
I don't even remember seeing Reebok. Are they still
Or
alive?
Adidas. What's the one? Adidas. Sorry, Adidas.
Adidas.
What's the tagline?
Don't
for
you
Adidas?
guys call Nike?
We call it Nike, yeah, but I know now that Nike is the Greek god of like sports or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, you guys in the UK call it fucking Nike.
Yeah, we call it Nike, which is incorrect. But
I was like, what? When I first heard someone say that, I was like, do you not know how to pronounce that word? And they're like, no, in England we say Nike. I'm like, what?
yeah, so branding work there then.
So it's okay for Americans to be racist against the UK people, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, but I mean, it's a good advert because like it promotes that kind of mentality in Japan as well, right?
Yeah.
So now it's getting a bit of negative feedback.
But everybody's talking about it. We're talking about
yeah,
it.
we're talking about it, and that reinforces that brand as being something different.
Yeah.
They stand for something. But if you go to another sportswear company, what do they stand for? You don't know.
Yeah, a lot of the comments, they were just worried about what the other country would think about
Yeah.
Japan.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is what, a lot of people do in Japan. We just kind of worry about what other people think.
Well, Japan does.
But, it really happening. It's really happening. So
I think the other thing is that it's an extremely small percentage of the population comparatively. And it's like, why are you focusing on this group?
Right.
When there's so many more Japanese people going through shit.
Yeah.
Have got bad times. There's loads of single parent families.
Suicide's on the rise, way up on the rise.
There's like bullying. There's all kinds of issues.
Bullying is a huge thing. We actually
Yeah.
almost did a full episode about that in the past. Bullying is a huge issue.
Yeah.
But that also plays into racism too. Like if you are of a different race, if you look different, if you're fat, whatever, you get bullied more.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So, I mean, these other issues have kind of been brushed together, and to fit Nike's kind of global image, they're talking about race, And I think for some Japanese people, that might seem as being not the priority for this market.
But who cares? Just let them have their one commercial.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's just a commercial, and
Yeah.
I thought it was quite a good commercial. It was quite moving,
Budweiser, after the Las Vegas shooting, Budweiser made like a 1 minute. If anyone knows anything about American commercials, 1 minute commercials basically don't exist.
Yeah.
They're super expensive to air. And Budweiser made a whole 1 minute commercial to like praise the Las Vegas Knights, the hockey team that we had for the first time. We just got a hockey team the same year that the shooting happened. And it's like, for this city who's gone through a lot, having a winner is really important, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like this emotional ad that they aired in Vegas. And it became like a rallying cry for people in Vegas to like, Vegas strong, like we'll survive this, we'll get through this kind of thing. It was just a fucking beer commercial.
Yeah.
But it was enough that the people who were affected by it got behind it. It got that brand a lot of love, and it was powerful. Advertising can be powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And so this ad, to me, when I saw it, I was like, I just thought this is going to make waves. Like it was very powerful.
Yeah. I mean, like advertising's got a huge, potential to change people's behavior.
Right. That's what it's for, right?
Ultimately they're trying to sell product,
Right.
But they're doing it through the means of, an emotional journey or whatever.
If you
and
don't have the emotional buy-in, you're not literally gonna buy things.
Yeah. I mean, they don't really care, I don't think, whether they get down votes or up votes on YouTube. I don't think that's really what they're after, as long as the numbers are there.
Yeah.
And you could look at that in a kind of negative light as well and just say it's only, purely for advertising.
Which, I mean, they wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't going to sell product, but still, I still think
it won't sell product now. It'll sell product in the long term, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know their numbers or anything like that, but it'll take a while and before it, shows an uptick, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a big company like Nike kind of addressing the fact that this kind of shit's happening, which is good. I think people will watch more. instead of to have a documentary or something, which some people would watch it, some people not. But like, you know,
interesting. It was 3 girls in the commercial as well.
Yeah.
Somebody else commented that. You know, they were like, "Where's the boy?"
I was also thinking, where's the white mixed
I was thinking.
person?
I was just thinking, oh, where's the white? I was thinking, where's the white guy?
Yeah, it's like, whoa.
We did an event a few years back where we aired the movie Hafu. It's a documentary, and we got a license to air it in one of the halls here, and we had almost a sold out audience. Myself and Hayato gave an opening speech to it as mixed race people. And, you know, when we watched the movie, I think everybody should watch the movie if you haven't seen it. I think you can probably get it on like YouTube or something like that. But it really missed the mark, in my opinion, because it just talked about their experience and everything. But it just, for me, I thought there was way more that they could have delved into the life of half people in Japan, and they didn't go deep enough. Have you guys seen the movie Go?
No.
Nope.
Okay, so the movie Go has, it's a movie about Zainichi. And it has, I forgot the actor's name. If you could look it up, Josh. It's got a famous actor as the lead role in it, and nobody's seen this movie. And it's a really powerful movie. It's really good. If anybody's out there, it's a Japanese movie. It's called Go with an exclamation point at the end of it. It's really violent. It's super violent. It's almost like Yakuza level violence. Mm. You got it? What's his name?
Wait, whose name did you want to know?
The lead actor.
Lead actor. Yosuke Kubozuka?
He's like a musician or something.
Oh yeah, I know.
And so
is this the movie?
Yeah, that's it right there.
Right.
So put the IMDb link in the description of the video. That movie, watch that, guys, at home. There's this really powerful scene. I don't want to ruin it for you guys, but there's a really powerful scene in there where he gets found out as being Zainichi by his girlfriend. And that's a scene that'll always be in my mind. If you guys want to know what it's like to be like have racism or be like that kind of foreigner growing up in Japan kind of thing, that movie is a really good first starting point. And it's a powerful movie. It's a really well-made movie, and nobody knows it. Nobody's seen it. Because I think that in Japan, there's a tendency to ignore problems, especially not talk about negative things, not air dirty laundry. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like, I think that comes from the, you know, what is it? Saimon ni futa
Oh, yeah.
kakeru toka.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is. Like, put a lid on things that smell bad.
Yeah.
You know, and that culture evolves from, you know, I think it's from the rice producing element of Japanese society historically, right? Because if you don't cooperate as a village to create your rice field together, you know, you're going to starve to death.
Yeah.
And anybody who isn't part of that group and gets ousted, you know, is in big trouble.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's where it comes from, I think. But
I want to close the show today with talking about, like, we've said a lot of things in this show, and, you know, I want this to be an open conversation. I don't think that we are the authority on any of this, but I think that it's something that we should talk about. And people at home, if you guys are in our audience and you have something to say, if you have an opinion, maybe we didn't represent a thought or opinion that you've had, maybe you don't agree with us, or maybe you do agree with us, make sure you guys comment in English or Japanese, it doesn't matter, or Korean, whatever, as long as we can translate it on Google. You know, it is a touchy subject, but it is a subject that I think that we're going to have more and more conversations about going forward. So, all right, guys, that's been our show today. Thanks, Alex, for coming on as a guest.
my pleasure.
Natsuki will be back in a regular chair next week. We just wanted Alex on because he's got that unique perspective of having the kids have kids. Hayato, your children right now, how old are they? 3 and 1?
3 and 8 months.
Let's hope that for them, their future will be one that...
Yeah.
Cute though now, right?
They're,
Yeah.
kind of annoying. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Bad.
I'm just kidding.
No.
Sorry.
I've got 13, man. That's annoying. Teenager.
Oh, yeah.
Bloody
But your
hell.
son, the thing is when he's old enough that you can have a beer with him, then you'll like him.
That's true, but
You gotta wait.
Teenagers, man.
Gotta wait another 5 or 6 years, man.
Well, just wait 3 years. Maybe he can start. Head
Yeah,
start.
start early.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's been our show today. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Hey guys, Josh here. Thanks again for watching this week's episode of Small Talk Japan. Small Talk Japan is filmed and recorded in Kagoshima at Story Studios. This week's episode stars Alex, Michi, and Hayato, and is produced by me, Josh, and is executive produced by Michi. Hair services provided by Drops Hair Temonkan. This week's episode is sponsored by Stapleton A. Kaiwa. Leave us a comment below and let us know what you think. Thanks again for watching, and if you enjoyed the show, click here to subscribe and click here to watch more. See you next week!